Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for a new video to bring you the latest AC Milan news and rumors going on. Now, I'm trying this new system today. I want to see if you guys like this new method of me doing videos. I want to be making these AC Milan news videos, the daily videos, as live streams. So that gives you an opportunity to comment on these news in real time during this live stream. And of course, I will be reading these comments throughout the time of this live stream so that I can respond to you. And I think this could be a way better interactive system rather than me waiting for you guys to write the comments later on throughout the day and me replying after so many hours. So I think this system would be better. If you guys would like this system better, let me know in the comment section below. I'm of course trying different things, so always your feedback is greatly appreciated. Now let's get started with today's news, guys, because there's obviously a lot to talk about. And once again, I'm going to tell you, for the new people that are coming into the stream, let me know your thoughts as soon as you hear something in the comment section below, as I will be reading them. But let's start off today with the bigger of the news. That is Marco Fassone. Apparently, he will be named CEO of AC Milan now that the Chinese investors are coming in. Now, he's expected to sign a 3-year deal with Milan. Of course, there will also be the option of a 4th year for Marco Fassone in case that we qualify to the Champions League. And technically speaking, you know, Marco Fassone, for those of you that don't know him, he was previously with Inter, but his career has a big arsenal behind him because, you know, he's had major roles at other Serie A clubs such as Juventus and Napoli as well before going to Inter. So he definitely has experience in the Serie A, and I'm willing to see how Marco Fassone could become our new CEO, of course, replacing Galliani. So this is another major talking point that I want your opinion on in the comments section below. What do you guys think about Marco Fassone replacing Galliani? Of course, a lot of you guys have been really on bad terms with Galliani in the past few years. Many of you guys are probably giving him blame for our downfall because, you know, in recent years, maybe we weren't given so many funds to play around with in the transfer market, but with the funds that we were given, a lot of terrible mistakes were made, and obviously Galliani had to be the one to blame it because he's the sporting director as well. He's the CEO as well as the sporting director, the guy that works his magic with the transfer rumors, making them either possibilities or not. So I think that Marco Fassone could be a very good option for Milan coming in. You know, as I said before, he's had experience with different clubs in the Serie A, so he could definitely benefit Milan in that sense. But there's also been other news today regarding Fassone because he contacted Ausilio. He's the current sporting director at Inter, and he asked him if he wants to join Milan, but Ausilio refused the offer. Now, this is a big dilemma for me in a way because, you know, as I said before, Marco Fassone has been previously with Inter, and this whole Interisti coming to Milan kind of thing is not my cup of tea. I'm not really fond about the idea of Ausilio being linked as the sporting director. And I mean, good for him. He rejected Milan because personally, if I was working for Milan, I would never go to Inter and vice versa. So I think Ausilio made the right decision for himself rather than him going to Milan and creating a whole mess. But I believe that Fassone will need to find a sporting director, someone that will be taking care of the transfer market operations, because I don't think he will be doing that job. He's going to need someone beside him to make the moves happen, to make the strategies occur. and technically he needs to plan the players that could possibly arrive at Milan. Now, just to close off on this whole management Chinese situation, it has been reported by Sky today that the final closing could actually be taking place on November the 4th. Now, this is just a date thrown out of nowhere by Sky, in my opinion, because we've seen so many times this year and in previous years how many times the preliminary agreement was postponed. So, honestly, I don't think November 4th is a date that you should just take into consideration and say, yes, it will occur on this date. But as I said in previous days, it is expected that the final closing will be reached by the end of 2016. Of course, it needs to be reached because the Chinese need to fund that winter transfer market. Now, let's speak about some players here because there's obviously lots of players to talk about. First of all, I want to speak about Milan Badei. Now, yesterday I mentioned in the video that Milan were strongly linked to Badei, and his agents were going to have a meeting with Fiorentina today to discuss about the possibility of Badei actually joining Milan. But it just seems that Fiorentina don't want to give in. They don't want to give Badei away to Milan. The player is unhappy with Fiorentina. He doesn't want to play for the Viola. He has expressed that so many times. He doesn't want to renew his contract. And he also said his dream is to play for Milan. So, this is a very difficult situation for Badei, in my opinion, because, he doesn't want to stay at Fiorentina. Fiorentina doesn't want to let him go. So why force a player to stay if he's not even going to give it his all for the team, especially since he doesn't want to stay at Fiorentina? So in my opinion, we're still going to have to see what happens with this. But his agent seems to stay optimistic with the whole situation. He says that, once again, it is the player's dream to actually go to Milan, and that anything is possible until the end of the transfer window. But if Milan can't get a hold of Badei, I think they should go for someone else as a defensive midfielder. I'm not quite sure who, but they definitely can't just stay and wait for Fiorentina to make their decision, because now Fiorentina is a club that is not really on good terms with Milan in these past few years. So they're obviously not going to give away players like nothing to the Rossoneri. So we'll see what happens. But as for now, Badei remains a Fiorentina player, and it seems like the whole affair is kind of complicated. So we'll see in the next coming days if his agents could somehow convince Fiorentina to let him go. Now, as for the attack, once again, the main priority target for Milan remains Juan Cuadrado. Now, according to Sky, Milan are actually hoping that Cuadrado's agent manages to lower Chelsea's demands for the player to about 25 million euros. Once again, his signing heavily depends on if Milan end up selling either De Sciglio or Bacca, two players that will go away for pretty hefty price tags, around 25 to 30 million euros. And these potential sales could actually fund the rest of our summer transfer window. So once again, it seems difficult to me that Cuadrado could arrive without Milan either selling Bacca or De Sciglio, for the simple fact that Chelsea just simply won't accept the option of loan with the obligation to buy. They want to see the money. They don't want to give him away like that. So technically, once again, it all depends on if Milan ends up selling either Bacca or De Sciglio. Now, the other option for the attack is Januzaj. I mentioned him yesterday in the video. Of course, it would be a cheaper option than Cuadrado. Cuadrado is a name. He's a player that could definitely make the difference. If you guys are familiar with him, I'm pretty sure a lot of you already are, but he's a guy that could come in at any moment, change the game for the good, always powerful, skillful, and very fast. And he's definitely the player that Milan need. So I think that Quadrado would definitely be the more realistic option if I had to choose between the two. Definitely has the Serie A experience that we also need to see. So I think Quadrado is no doubt the player that I would choose between him and Januzaj. But once again, the whole discussion about the potential sales of either Deschio or Baca come into play. Now, I'm going to take a break before speaking about the other players, as I want to read your comments and see what you guys think of the AC Milan news so far today. Now, Matteo Bosco quickly says we want Maldini back. Once again, I mentioned this a few days ago with Marco and Adamo. Maldini will be a great option to see once again joining the management. I don't think it's going to happen right away, but I think that Maldini could eventually have a role at Milan. I'm not quite sure what kind of role, but Maldini going back to Milan in the management could definitely play a big part, not only in reacquiring the fans' faith, but I think that just an image itself of Maldini returning to the club could definitely, make the fans feel like the legends were actually appreciated. Because in these past few years, there's been so many discussions about potential ex-players going back to Milan in order to help with the management and so forth, like many other clubs do. For example, Juventus, with Nedved. And Berlusconi simply never bought that idea. He never wanted these ex-Milan players to join him in the management. But now that the Chinese investors are in, this could definitely be a possibility. Now, Dwayne Rizzo says, what do you think about selling Baca? For me, it's better to sell Deschio because we have a lot of left backs. And then if we buy Nasri and Bonaventura can play at center midfield. I'm just going to speak about that right now because I was actually going to Deschio and speaking about Deschio and Baca at the moment. And, speaking of Deschio, Napoli have made another offer to Milan. They're now offering 15 million euros to Milan. But once again, Milan want 25 million euros. They won't give them away for 10 million less. That is just stupid by Napoli to even try and make an offer of 15 million. Like, we all know that Milan needs 25 to 30 million euros to fund their transfer market this summer. So why would they want to give them away for less? There's just no explanation for it. So once again, offers are coming in for Deschio, but not good enough. If the right offer arrives, would Deschio be given away? I think it could possibly be given away. But if I had to choose between Deschio and Baca, I would probably sell Deschio at this point. Baca, he's a player that needs to play in a top club. Don't get me wrong, he got so many goals last season, but look at the support he had. Lack of support from the midfield. I think this time around, with Montela's tactics, with new players coming into the team, playing all together, this could definitely benefit Baca even more. And I could see him having a more entertaining season than last season, where he could possibly score even more than 20 goals this year. So, in my opinion, if I had to choose between Deschio and Baca, who I would sacrifice, I would probably sacrifice Deschio. Many of you are probably saying, Deschio is the future. He's the future of Italy. But at the given moment, we are just not linked with any potential strikers that we could possibly see as better replacements for Baca. Who could better replace Baca at the moment that we've been linked to? Honestly, I don't see any names that could do a better job than him. That is why I think that Baca should end up staying. But let's speak about Baca because there are some curious reports coming in today actually concerning him because West Ham apparently have raised their offer for Baca to 5 million euros per year on wages. Now, previously, they were offering him 4.5 million euros. Now, to this increase of 5 million, this could be maybe playing in favor of Baca, but everything still remains to be seen. However, there was an interesting report coming in today from a Colombian source saying that the Baca sale is done and that you will be joining West Ham. However, it's not a reliable source. It's not like we're speaking about Sky or Gazzetta dello Sport where they usually get things right. So until then, I just don't see Baca right away going to West Ham. Maybe it could happen by the end of this month. But there's also the thing that West Ham just signed Ayew. So they just signed him for £21 million. So, I'm just not convinced that they will be willing to spend even more money now on Baca now that they spent £21 million on Andre Ayew. So, do they even have all that money? That is my question. So honestly speaking, once again, I don't see Baca going to West Ham, and I'm gonna keep repeating it until they prove me wrong, because I just don't see him playing in England for some reason. I don't think it's a type of league for him. If he needs to return somewhere, it would be in Spain, or in my opinion, he will remain at Milan. So we'll see what happens. But once again, Baca has been linked to West Ham, to a move to West Ham, and until then, we're gonna have to see what happens for Baca. Could he be sold or not? Once again, let me know in the comment section who you would prefer selling if you had to fund our summer transfer window. Would it be De Chillo or Baca? Now, there's also some other news coming in today with Diego Lopez. Apparently, there's been reports of him possibly leaving throughout this whole summer. He was first linked to Chelsea, where he was supposed to already sign with them. But after all, Diego Lopez didn't end up going to Chelsea, but he might be going back to La Liga now. He might actually join Celta Vigo. There's supposed to be contacts tomorrow with Milan and Celta Vigo before the Trofeo team, which will be played tomorrow. By the way, guys, if you didn't know, Milan will be featuring in this tournament as they will be playing 45-minute games against Sassuolo and Celta Vigo. So obviously there will be a review of all that on Rossoneri TV. But this is pretty interesting for Diego Lopez. I think that a return to La Liga is undeniable. It will be very good for him. He won't be getting any playing time this season at Milan. Of course, Gabriel remains the second option after Donnarumma. And even though there's reports of Torino wanting Gabriel, simply, I don't think he will leave. I think Gabriel will remain as Donnarumma's backup, and therefore there simply won't be any place for Diego Lopez. Finally, there's also been talks about Calabria. Recent weeks, there's been reports saying that there's been different teams. I believe there was Torino or Cagliari. I'm not quite sure who, but they were interested in Calabria. But his agent once again reconfirmed today that the player will remain at Milan. And this is very good news because I personally value Calabria very highly. I think he has a bright future ahead of him. He could do very well at Milan. He could become the future maybe one day. He's shown great characteristics throughout last season for the games that he played. And personally, I think, if he gets more playing time, I don't know if he's going to get that playing time, but he could prove many people what he's worth. So this is very encouraging news coming in from his agent, saying that most likely Calabria will remain at Milan this summer. So for the last 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to be reading some comments from you guys. So this is the time to send in your questions. Let me know what you thought about today's news, or if you have any questions in general regarding the transfer window, or what you think about certain players potentially coming or leaving. This is the time to do it. So send in your questions. I won't be able to answer you guys all, but keep sending them in. If I come across it, I will be reading it. So let's start off with Angelic. He says that can Fiorentina really keep him though if he wants to leave? They're not exactly Juve. They're not in a position to turn it down. The thing is with Bade and Fiorentina, he's still under contract with them until 2018. So technically, Fiorentina could even keep him. This is money that they could potentially get from a player that is not willing to stay at Fiorentina, that he doesn't want to renew his contract. So, you can look at this in two ways. Either Fiorentina want to keep him just to tell Milan that, look, we're not giving you any players for the simple reason that we don't like you. We don't want to sell our players to you. Or they could give him away for Milan actually offered 8 to 10 million for him. So they could give him away, get some money, get some revenue from his sale, from a player that simply won't give his best to play for Fiorentina since he doesn't want to stay there. And why would they want to keep him at Fiorentina if he simply won't show up to the games, if he simply doesn't want to stay there? Now, once again, Fiorentina are not forced to do anything because he's still under contract with them until 2018. He's not going to leave as a free agent anytime soon, at least. So if they want to make some revenue on him, now is the time, because if they're going to give him away next year, which I don't think he's going to be staying much longer at Fiorentina, if they want to give him away next year, they will be losing value on him. They will be losing money. So this is the time to do it for Fiorentina. If I was Fiorentina, I would sell him. I wouldn't keep him. Why would you want to keep a player that doesn't want to play for the club? Simply, I don't get it. Let's read some more questions from you guys. Caleb says, if Baca doesn't leave with Lapadula, Niang, Luis, and Niano and him, wouldn't we have too many strikers to play a 4-3-3? Well, look at that. We're going to need some players on the bench as well. Not everyone's going to be playing at the same time. You're not going to see Baca paired up with Lapadula and Yang or Luis Adriano all at the same time. You're going to expect some players to stay on the bench. And this is the thing. They're going to have to earn their role at Milan. If they want a starting position, they're going to have to earn it. They're going to have to prove to Montella that they deserve a starting position at Milan. At this point, I could even see Suso starting in the 4-3-3 on the right side. So as I said, there's many players that could definitely have a starting role at Milan in this current team, but they're going to have to prove it to Montella. So not everyone's going to play together. You're not going to see Baca paired up with Lapadula and Yang and the whole mix all the time. So, that is what you have to expect once you see all these strikers. And this is the case for many teams, not only Milan. You're going to see lots of players that could possibly start in other teams, but they're going to have to stay on the bench simply because they're not even convincing the coach as much, or they simply don't have the talent to do so. Now, Milan Butch says, why not get rid of Honda? Now, Honda is obviously a player that, in my opinion, will not be getting much playing time this season. There's new names coming in. Honda, I just don't see him with a future at Milan. And I've been saying this for months and months and months. I simply don't know why Honda hasn't left just yet. The only explanation to this could be that no one wants him, technically speaking, because there haven't been any offers for Honda in these past few weeks or months. And I remember at the end of the season, there were actually talks between the agent of Honda and Berlusconi speaking about him staying at Milan. But, once again, this is a player that, in my opinion, will leave eventually. If he doesn't leave this summer, he will leave in January. I just don't see a future for Honda at Milan at all. Let's see some more questions from you guys. Lots of them coming in, guys. So once again, I'm sorry if I can't really answer them all. Andrea says, will Lapadula play tomorrow for the Trofeo, and what time is it at? I'm not quite sure if Lapadula will be playing. I think he will, because he stayed at Milanello all this time to work on his form and so forth. The Trofeo team will be kicking off at 9 p.m. Italian time. Luca says, don't mean to be that guy, but am I the only person that thinks it's a bit for the new owners to only give 15 million towards the transfer window. Surely the new guys would like to make an impression. Well, this is the whole situation at the moment. The reason why they're only giving 15 million euros at the moment is because this is what was said in the agreement. They're actually expected to give 100 million euros as the initial deposit for this whole agreement. Now, the 15 million are coming in now, and the other 85 will only come in after the summer transfer window is done. And this is expected to be in the first days of September. So simply, this was programmed in the contract. I think it was done on purpose simply because the Chinese didn't want to shoot 100 million all in one shot, but rather they would want to wait until January to do so. So this is something that the Chinese have obviously thought about. But in my opinion, I think that, we have to do with what we have at the moment. In these next 4 to 5 months until January, we're going to have to work with what we have. We don't have a bad team. We've shown some good things in preseason. Obviously, it all depends on the results that Montella could achieve in this first half of the season. If he could achieve great results for Milan, and by this I'm saying maybe by the end of December, maybe we could be, I don't know, 4th, 5th place. That would be great, because if we could get the reinforcements that we need in January and work our way towards these reinforcements, we could have a very good second half of season in which we could maybe even qualify for the Champions League or gain the 4th place. So simply, I think that this was already taught by the Chinese and Berlusconi. They didn't want to give the whole 100 million in one shot, also because it is a deposit. So what this means, since the final closing has not yet been reached, the 100 million euros is money that could potentially be lost if they somehow decide to back up, because it's a deposit. That's what a deposit is. You're giving in money, but if you back out, you're pretty much losing that money. That is why maybe they didn't want to offer it all in one shot right away. Obviously speaking, the Chinese obviously not going to back out of this operation now that everything's been said and done. But it's just to explain a bit of the financials and how it works with deposits and all this money. Let's read some more questions for the next 2 to 3 minutes. Caleb says, do you think Bertolacci will be starting regularly this season in the midfield? Do we have anything better? Bertolacci, he had a bad season last year, and we all saw that. We all criticized him and Milan as well for spending 20 million on him for no absolute reason. Bertolacci could be given a starting role. I simply don't think, however, unless he definitely impresses Montella to the fullest. But in terms of having anything better, in the midfield, we could even put some young options, I think. Once again, the transfer window is still long. We can maybe get some players in that midfield that could replace him. But in my opinion, if we play with that 4-3-3, we're probably not going to see much of Bertolacci. I think there's players that could do better than him altogether. Roderick says, am I the only one concerned that Fassone will be the new CEO? He was the sporting director of Lazio, Juve, and even Inter. This is something that I mentioned at the beginning. Once again, he was with Inter, but I think that the whole experience coming into him, bringing it to Milan, could be very beneficial to the team. Once again, Andrea saying, instead of selling Bacco or Deschio, just sell Poli and replace him. Sorry about that. Just sell Poli and replace him with Sosa and sell Onda and Luis Adriano to get Cuadrado. Now, guys, not to criticize anyone, but I just want to make this clear, because I see these types of comments all the time. And, it's not that I have a laugh, but it's just funny that some people are actually thinking like this. This is not FIFA. This is not Ultimate Team where you can just put players for sale and they will get sold. We're speaking about players such as Poli and Honda, players that no one wants to go after. No one wants to sign them. So we can't just simply say, let's sell this guy, let's sell this other guy, and let's sell this other guy. If teams don't want these players, there's no possibility of us even potentially selling them. Either we're gonna put a very low price tag in which maybe low table teams could go out there and sign these players, and at the same time, these players possibly won't want to leave Milan since they're still under contract to join these low table teams. So, I mean, I see these comments all the time, guys. I would personally refrain from making such comments because simply if the teams are not going after these players, if they're not offering anything for these players, it means that no one wants them. And this was a problem for Milan that's been going on for years and years and years. And that is why Galliani and others have been criticized heavily, because they've been making signings in which now we are forced to remain with certain players since they're still under contract, players that no one wants, players that have been doing so terrible in these past years, and we are simply stuck with them until their contracts expire. I hope this explanation clarifies a lot of things of players that we could potentially sell to generate some funds, but no one wants them. So we can't just simply go out there and propose these players to anyone. If no one wants them, we simply can't sell them. I'll go with one last question before I leave, guys. Make sure that you guys send in your comments. I will still be reading them throughout these next few hours. Now, Caleb says, realistically, what do you expect of this next season for Milan? Will we qualify for Europe? Opinion. I think we will. Definitely. I think that the transfer funds coming into January will get us some good players. Montella, I'm not going to criticize Mihajlovic because Mihajlovic did a very good job last year. And I think personally, if Milan didn't make that stupid decision of bringing in Brocchi, Mihajlovic would have ended up qualifying to Europe. But, I say that Montella's possession game is very good. The thing is, I hope that the Chinese keep Montella for a long time and they build a project around him, because that is technically what we need. We never had a coach in a long time that has been kept for various years. So hopefully the Chinese realize that Montella is the man for this job. I really like his style, and I think with the right players, this team could be a very strong force, not only in Italy, but also in Europe. So my expectations for this season, of course, the transfer window in the summer is still not done, but I think that we will end up qualifying for Europe next season. I mean, it's a must. Now that the Chinese investors have come in, now that the funds will come in, there's just no more excuses whatsoever. Finally, I will answer one last question since you guys are sending so many, and I do appreciate all these questions coming in. AS1707 says, do you think that we need another defender? Now, Gustavo Gomez was signed to complement Romagnoli, and I think it's a great signing. The guy has a lot of passion. I saw his interview. He wants to do well at Milan, and I think he will do well at Milan. But simply, I'm not quite sure if Romagnoli and Gustavo Gomez will be the perfect pairing. Also, we are kind of short with center backs because Rodrigo Eli is injured. Also, I think he's injured a long time. I'm not quite sure. Christian Zapata is out. So definitely our center back options are not too many. In my opinion, I think we still need another defender. This is the thing. If Milan generate the funds from Bacca or De Sciglio, what will they go after? Will they sign another defender such as Musacchio? Very unlikely at the moment since they already got Gustavo Gomez. Or will they try to improve their attacking sense with a signing such as Cuadrado? So these are all questions that come into play when thinking about either having the funds or not. Do we need another defender? In my opinion, yes, because simply we don't have enough center backs that could fill that role. But at the same time, if we get the funds, I think we should definitely invest in someone that will do us very good in the attack. So that's going to wrap up today's AC Milan news video, guys. Thank you for watching. Once again, let me know in the comment section if you guys actually prefer this type of method of doing videos rather than the traditional video in which you guys would comment in the video and I would reply to you by words. So let me know if you guys like this live interaction with you guys better than the usual. Don't forget to subscribe to Rossoneri TV to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan. Don't forget, tomorrow the Trofeo team will be taking place at 9 p.m. Italian time, with Milan playing against Sassuolo and Celta Vigo. There will be a review on this match after the tournament. My apologies. The tournament will actually be played on Wednesday. I'm so sorry about that. At a moment of confusion, the tournament will be played on Wednesday, August 10th, not tomorrow, August 9th. So I will be having a review nonetheless for that. But once again, keep sending in your questions, your comments on the transfer news in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And once again, guys, thank you for watching and thank you for all the support. We are on our way to 10K, so if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. This has been Gio signing off from Rossoneri TV, and as always, Forza Milan.